DesignStudio was born out of frustration, just at what we were finding at different agencies. So we worked with some great agencies, big agencies, small agencies, but never quite found somewhere that we absolutely loved or offered what we wanted. And I think, we've talked a bit in the past about, we found what we loved at working at boutique agencies was the level of craft. The ability to spend a month on a poster for a private view and just perfect it, the stock, every single detail mattered. You were so proud of it, you were sharing it on the blogs, other designers would comment on it. There's real appreciation of craft, and I think the downsides were always, it was always for such a small event or for such a small thing. You were never working on big global brands. You were never kind of considering things on a global level. So you didn't have those problems. And sometimes I had a real appetite for understanding that. And I loved doing that then at the big agencies. I loved working, for the Nokis of this world. I loved working on things where I had to think about so many different parameters that something had to work through. But the downside of working at the big agencies, I just found they were run so much more differently. Design became just part of a process rather than the process. I was given certain amounts of time to do something, and if it wasn't done within those time, it was like, doesn't matter, that's build onto the next thing. It felt like a machine. And also what frustrated me there was that, as I mentioned, you're part of a process, and not through the entire process, you'd hardly get to meet the clients. You wouldn't get to sit in the strategy or the workshop conversations. You would then arrive at the design section of work, and that strategy signed off would land on your desk. And I had no idea where it had come from, what the thought process was behind it. Someone would run me through a presentation. And I found that such a shame. And I think what we wanted to do with DesignStudio was, firstly, find this way of offering that level of craft, that level of craftsmanship and detailing to those big clients on that global scale. So we want to bring the conversation back to designers. So they sit in the new business meetings. We don't have a new business team. It'll be me sat with one of the creative leads. So they'll meet the person face to face who we'll be working with from day one right through to the last day of the project. While we're in those kind of heavy strategy and workshop phases and finding out about the business, the designers are there. They're learning about it hands-on. They're becoming part of the team, part of the brand we're working with. And then when we're presenting back to the clients, we're not just presenting what I used to hate, those dry PowerPoint documents that were just text-based, heavy kind of charts that had never been near a designer, which I find a lot of clients were also bored with as well, as bored as I was reading. So we can actually use the designers in that stage as well to bring those documents to life, show them what these decisions that we're making actually look like and how they're going to affect their brand. And even though we're not showing them the answer, we're just showing them, how this could move, what this means. So they're already kind of sneaking into the next stage of developing this creative identity. So that was always what we tried to do with DesignStudio. And I think we probably talked about it really heavily in around the end of 2007, 2008. We were both freelancing in lots of different places, and January 2009, recession hits. Ben just had his first child. We started to question, maybe this isn't the best time to do it. But we just had to do it. We knew we had to do it. And in the strangest way, January 5th, 2009, we started. We didn't have a single job. We'd had £5,000 in the bank that we'd managed to save. We just did it. And it was the best time to start, because what people were looking for was an agency that had the hunger. They were looking for people who could deliver what they were getting from the big agencies, but they couldn't afford them anymore. And we were that efficient, economical alternative that they were willing to give a try at that time. And we managed to kind of scoop up so much business, and that's literally where it grew from. The business has changed quite a lot in the past. I mean, when we started, we were worried because you take a lot of advice from people about formulating business plans, going to the bank and asking for money, which we've never done and haven't had the need to do. But the worry that we didn't have a really kind of specific business plan about exactly that, exactly how big do we want to be, how many offices do we want, how many staff do we want, what are the exact clients that we want to target. We just didn't have it, and it worried me a lot because I felt like we're not a real business. We had a massive belief in what we wanted to do, a hunger for it, an excitement for it. People were kind of buying into it, the clients were buying into it, but we didn't have this huge business plan document that we could refer to of where we were going. But now when I look back, I'm just so glad we didn't have one, because actually we grew the company on that belief, and we've gone in different directions, but we've always brought it back to where we've wanted to be. We've made decisions on the way, and I think it's enabled DesignStudio to become what we've kind of built. We didn't listen to what other people had done because we didn't want to be them. We wanted to be DesignStudio, and we couldn't have set a business plan for it at that stage. So no, we've never had that plan of how big we wanted to be. We've always had a look at like what clients we wanted to work with, but we've never put them into sectors. And that was another thing that worried me, like what sector do you work with? Are you the sports sector or this sector? And that used to terrify me because I just used to think, well, why do I have to cut off some of these clients that I'd love to work with just because they're not in a sector or a bucket that I've said that we're going to work with? So all we ever ask is that when we're looking for clients is that they have that hunger to do something. They really believe and trust in us. We're excited about the project. Because if we're not excited about the project, no matter how big that budget is, I can guarantee it will just become terrible. Like the guys won't be into it. The work won't look great. The clients won't like feel that we kind of love them enough, and it'll just end up in a terrible mess. So all we ever ask for is whatever our client is, it's exciting, the team are kind of excited about it, and they have a belief in the partnership they want to work with us. So I think one is the spirit. I mean, they're the exact type of people that have the same belief as we do. But I think a lot of big agencies now want to be working with the people like Airbnb because they keep banding around the word disruptive. And I guess what I've just told you, that by our very nature, we kind of were that. We weren't following a plan of what everyone else had done. We were slightly disruptive. And so I think, especially when we worked with Brian Chesky and Joe Gabriel at Airbnb, they saw themselves in us, and we did in them, although they're terribly more successful than we are. Yeah, I think so. Again, there's no number. We don't put a number on it. I think the hard thing with what we've done and established this office, as I've said, we've always trying to balance that boutique with that large agency. And I think as soon as we get to a size where it's difficult to kind of keep that level of craft and detailing is when we realise we're too big. So that's the point that we have to grow to. I think we've kind of touched it here occasionally, but we've brought it back now to a size around 30 where it feels like this is very manageable. We've got a good view on everything that's going on, and we can make sure the levels of craft and detailing are there. So I'd say San Francisco could become a similar size, but I don't know. It just depends what the need is and how they can kind of maintain that kind of level of craft and detail. Relationships is something that kind of spans internally and externally. So we try and keep amazing relationships and the culture in the studio brilliant. I mean, I think it feels great here, and I hope I'm not just the only one that would say that, but everyone, although there's a hierarchy, everyone has an opinion here. We challenge the most junior of staff to be kind of like pitching the ideas, meeting with the clients, so everyone feels like they're a fundamental part of the business. I used to hate that when you were junior and your role was like hidden at the back and you got to cut the kind of boards in half and don't you dare talk in this meeting. That feeling is horrible. So we try and build great relationships with our staff and make them feel like a real value to the business. And then relationships also externally as well. So we talk about how Brian Chesky in the video with me at Airbnb talks about how we felt like part of Airbnb. That's so important to us. I mean, in terms of a new business tool, we don't just look for a quick project that we bill as much as we can and disappear. We look to kind of like bill honestly, work brilliantly, impress the clients, continue impressing them, and keep working with them. And so Nokia was a great client of ours for 6 years. And we built that just by having brilliant relationships with all those people that work there. And Airbnb is the same, Logitech's the same, and we just love continuing to work with our clients and have brilliant relationships with them. And the reason that it works great is because of those brilliant relationships. You then get that level of trust. They believe in what you're saying and asking and showing them that they need to do. And it means that the output is going to be the best it possibly can be as well.